I'm so excited to talk with you today about deconditioning with human design. So, if you're ready to decondition from who you were told you should be, to step into the power of who you are, to avoid burnout and create healthy boundaries, you're in the right place. Likely, your conditioning are blind spots that you struggle to see. It's really hard to see them. We need someone else to reflect back to us who we are. That's why you long to be recognized for who you are, to have people in your life who really see you. Regardless of your energetic type, we all want to be recognized for our gifts as the amazing human that you are. So, how do you decondition? I'm going to talk with you about each of the 9 centers, looking at whether it's defined or undefined for you. And this keys us in as to where you have consistent energy, if you do have consistent energy in this area, or if you might be extra prone to deconditioning. Then you can begin to bring awareness to these energies in the 9 centers to see if it's working and benefiting for you. Checking with what beliefs are there around these topics, and if there's anything that you might want to change, shift, or do differently. So let's get started. So first, a little bit about me. I'm Jen Greiner. Welcome. I am a 3/5 emotional projector. I'm a human design coach, and for the past 10 years, I've been an art therapist and mental health counselor. I am over 4 years into my human design experiment. I call myself an energetic alignment coach because I really work to understand, guide, and support you on your journey to balance and alignment. I provide guidance through helping you decondition to allow for breaking patterns, improved relationships, boundaries, and aligned living. So, pull out your body graph. You have your free human design chart, and we see the 9 centers. Starting with the crown, we're going to dive into each of these. Then we have the ajna, then the throat, the G center, the heart, the solar plexus, the root down at the bottom, the sacral, and the spleen. Everyone starts with this same body chart. It's whether you're defined or undefined that makes us unique. So, undefined is where it's not colored in. There might be some circles around different numbers, those are gates, or you might have it defined, colored in. It may also be completely open. That center is completely white with no circles around the numbers. So what does this mean? When it's defined, colored in, you have reliable and consistent energy here. It is strongly who you are, how you condition the world around you. The challenge in these centers is that we can assume others to be the same, to function the same way. Your specific expression depends on the gates and channels and the other energy that's moving consistently through this center. Undefined. So if it is not colored in, this center is undefined for you. This is where it's inconsistent, unreliable energy flow. You still have it. It is there, but it might be different depending on who you're with, whether you're alone, or what's going on in the energies around us. So these undefined centers are what we want to learn about, what we're fascinated by. We might even pursue education in this. It's where we can share wisdom and also clearly reflect without taking it in when it's in alignment. The challenge here is that we can be easily conditioned, easily absorb the energy from others in these undefined centers and mistake it for ours. It can also be an erratic expression. We might get defensive. We can also get consumed by these energies and burn out here. And then lastly, if your center is completely open, so not only is it undefined, it's also completely open. That means that there is no consistent energy here. It is just meant to flow. So having non-attached clarity, a pristine reflection of that energy so that you can easily mirror it back to others. The challenge with these completely open centers is that you might be oblivious, clueless, delusional, lost, or get totally overwhelmed. So that's why it's so important to know what areas you have defined and undefined. So let's get into it. Starting at the crown, also called the head at the very top. This is all about inspiration and mental pressure. Each of the centers connect with body functions, so it can also help you to check in with how are these body functions working? Are they doing really great? I have no issues. Wonderful. You may not be experiencing conditioning in this area. Or if you are struggling, you likely are dealing with conditioning. And to be clear, conditioning can happen in defined and undefined centers. So the head is a pressure center. It's where questions, truths, doubts, confusion, possibilities can emerge. This is where we download inspiration to be mentally processed by the mind, the next center that we'll talk about. So if you have this center undefined, ask yourself the question and bring awareness to, am I trying to answer everybody else's questions? Is there a mental pressure to answer everything that perhaps hasn't even been asked? So this is how you can check in with your conditioning in the crown. Then moving on to the ajna, the mind, this is all about mental consciousness. So you can see the body functions, check in there, how are your hormones doing, how's your opening to your third eye. This center is like an internal processor. It processes and filters, rationalizes to understand. It's all about conceptualizing. It interprets these things. It's an awareness center. It's aware of what's going on, but it isn't able to connect really to anything. So if you have this center undefined, right, it's not colored in on your body graph, ask yourself the question and check in, am I trying to convince everyone that I am certain? Am I trying to prove my point? Am I trying to be really logical here? How is my mind working? I do a lot of deconditioning in this center alone. Then we have the throat, and this tends to be a center that is very easily conditioned, again, regardless if it's defined or undefined for you. It's all about communication and manifestation. It connects with the thyroid, metabolism, overall well-being. So this is where things get created. It's about self-expression where anything can happen. So it's that outlet of expressing yourself in whatever way might feel good for you. So this is a manifestation center, right? We express it, we create it into our reality. So if this center is undefined for you, ask yourself the question, am I trying to attract attention? Am I talking just to talk? Am I knowing when the right time to say things is, or am I just blabbing on and on and on? Next is the G center, all about the self, direction, identity, the monopole. Everything is kind of coming to this place. It's about sense of purpose, right? Love, aligning with who you are. This center answers the question of who am I? If you have it defined, you likely can answer this question unless you're conditioned. If it's undefined, you may be more of a chameleon, and depending on where you are is who you are. So it is the identity center, is the identity of who you are. So if it is undefined, ask yourself, am I looking for love and direction? Am I trying to find my purpose, my identity, to see where some conditioning may be hidden there? Then we have the heart, the ego. This is all about willpower, material world. It's all about worth, self-esteem, money matters, competition. This is a motor center. It has a built-in energy to really drive that willpower. So if you have this undefined, like 70% of the world does, ask yourself, do I think I have something to prove? Am I trying to prove something? Do I feel unworthy and I have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be worthy and to prove myself? A lot of conditioning in this area. Next, we have the sacral center. So this is all about fertility, sexuality, life force, energy. 70% of the world has this defined. So this is all about reproduction in all the ways. But it really harnesses the energy, this raw power without awareness. Again, it's a motor center that runs and runs, giving you access to life force energy, perhaps consistently or perhaps in spurts. So if you do have it undefined, if you're a non-sacral projector, manifestor, or reflector, ask yourself, do I know when enough is enough? Because likely, if you're conditioned in this area, again, regardless of your type, you may feel like you have to do more and more and more. And even though your body is saying, I've had enough, your mind is hijacking you and telling you you have to do more. This isn't enough. Then we move on to the spleen. So the spleen on the left side of the body graph is all about body consciousness, the physical. It's all about survival, intuition, instinct. It is an awareness center, but it has no applied intelligence. So this is where deep-seated fears can lie, where conditioning can wreak havoc on your immune system, on your nervous system, even. So it's really about life, living well, well-being, spontaneity. So if you have this center undefined, ask yourself, am I holding on to what's not good for me? Have I experienced others' fears and absorbed that energy and mistaking it as mine? Then we have the solar plexus, emotion center. So half of the world has this defined. And this is all about spiritual consciousness. It's about the emotions, moods, sensitivities, feelings, passions, desires. If you are half of the world with this defined, you ride a fixed emotional wave. Now, that is not your emotions go up and down, it's the energy of the emotions to ride. So, this is an awareness center and a motor center. So, it has energy, especially to fuel that emotional wave. And it is also your emotional intelligence, really. So if you're half of the world that has this undefined, ask yourself, am I avoiding confrontation and truth? Am I scared of confrontation, big emotions, so I'm backing away? This is a really, really important center to decondition, especially as we move forward as emotional sentient beings. And then the last center, we have the root center. This is another pressure center, but also a motor center that gives us physical adrenalized pressure, right? To act, to give us drive to do things. It can also root us and ground us. So if you have this center undefined, really check in about your stress levels, what stresses you out, and ask yourself the question, am I in a hurry to get things done so I can be free of pressure? Right? You really stress out over getting that to-do list done, only to realize there will always be more to do. So see what conditioning you start to bring awareness to in the root. If you would like to learn more about your unique design, you can book a mini reading or book a full human design energetic assessment. Those are ways that we look at your specific individual chart to uncover the conditioning, where you're feeling stuck, to really learn about yourself and uncover how to align, how to make good decisions. Or you can schedule your free 30-minute discovery call. And this is where we can chat also to uncover where your conditioning is getting in your way of honoring yourself and know the next steps to take, whether it be a mini reading or an energetic assessment, or maybe even a coaching session. So if you're not yet aware of where you're stuck, of where you're conditioned, message me or check out the link in the description below for the link to book your free discovery call. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know about your deconditioning journey, about your human design alignment journey. And remember, this is an experiment, so it gets to be fun. Also, let's connect. Here are different ways to get in touch with me through Instagram, my website, my one-on-one coaching program, or other offers that I have.